All right, sustainability. You know, last year, green sustainability was just beginning to emerge. But now we've got, you know, oil prices we've never seen before. We got 83% of companies designing a supply chain to be green. You know, do people care, Jane? You know, the consumer, do they care?
I think people say they care. It's like if you polled people and asked them if they eat their vegetables, more are going to say they eat their vegetables than really do. So people want to be green. Do they want to be green enough to pay extra? That's, of course, the big question. Certainly wealthier consumers are more likely to pay extra. I do think, Vanessa and I were talking earlier, you know, we all get, in the media, we all get deluged by press releases from some of the companies that want to get good press for their environmental efforts, and I think that, you know, I can understand why they're doing it, but there's a little bit of a risk of kind of a greener than thou attitude, and certainly a risk of a backlash, because there's going to be, you know, there've been some favorable stories out there, but there's going to be some more critical reporting, much like we're seeing on the presidential campaign. Things are turning a bit, and I think you're going to see journalists taking a harder look at some of the claims to see really if they do make any difference.
Now, Vanessa, you know, with all these press releases, I'm green, do people need to be worried about that? You know, backlash?
I think at a certain level, some consumers do care. They're becoming much more aware of green issues, especially at the luxury level, for example. In fashion, I'm seeing it, and I think people are responding to it. But one question might be for retailers, and also for the suppliers. Right now, there really are no standards for being green that consumers can sort of understand. So there's no sort of seal of approval that people understand. And I think that down the way, we're going to see the emergence of maybe a handful of those different sorts of seals of approval that will help consumers kind of get a better sense of who really is maybe meeting the green mark better than others. So, I mean, it might get more competitive in the near future once we have these standards.
Joe, now, you know, you cover a lot of the retailers. Who's doing this well?
Well, the best example that I can think of, because it accomplished a solid business goal as well as the PR function of going green, is Walmart. And if you can recall headlines from like 4 years ago, I actually began to feel sorry for the monolith that is Walmart. And I apologize to anyone here in the audience that may be from Walmart, but they were getting hit by zoning regulations, by legislation. The entire state of Maryland, for example, passed a law that actually was an anti-Walmart law. The city of Chicago, things like that. In 2000, it got so bad that in 2006, a strategy session occurred within Walmart. Lee Scott, the chairman of the board, actually came out with a visionary mission statement that realigned Walmart to a go green strategy based on the fact that it would not only provide good corporate citizenship PR, which was actually necessary for them, but would also save them millions of dollars. Now, isn't that the ideal scenario? That has been carried out at the top and bottom level through Walmart over the last few years, and they have saved those millions of dollars, and they have turned around their image. I saw a recent poll, I don't know if anyone else saw it, where Walmart was voted the #3 most eco-friendly company in the country, after people like Patagonia and things like that.
Well, that's a turnaround, isn't it? Okay, so Bob, you know, a year ago, sustainability, green wasn't even on a supply chain agenda. But today we don't really have a definition of what it means. I mean, what do people in the audience do?
Well, that's true. First of all, just the issue of caring. The reality is $4 a gallon gas, $5 a gallon gas, $6 a gallon gas, we all become remarkably caring human beings.
Particularly at the gas pump, right?
That's right.
Yeah.
So the supply chain is an immense contributor to the carbon output and greenhouse gas emissions in the world today. Supply chain providers have to take action now. They have no choice. Every step of the way, there are major actions underway now. But the interesting thing is, as Joe points out, and I see a parallel here between the green movement and the security, post 9/11 security initiatives, and that is what appears to be an onerous burden on industry actually turns out to be of benefit, because you end up streamlining your supply chain when you use fewer packaging materials, when you get product to market in a more efficient way. It ends up being a plus both for you, the provider, and for your ultimate customer.
So use it for an opportunity.
It's an opportunity. If you wish to look at it that way, yes. And I think companies are going to be looking at it that way.
I also did read somewhere that REI has actually seen their sales increase at the stores where they've actually added more natural sunlight and made them more environmentally friendly, looking at least. So, and that employee retention's better. So it solved a couple of problems. So there's certainly some upsides.
I'd like to just add very briefly, too, that if as a CEO or a C-level executive, you're not adopting energy-saving processes for your company, you're actually putting your company at risk, because commodities are becoming scarcer, they are rising, and you really need to plan for it.
So there's opportunity for folks in the room to bring that forward. Yes, Jay?
It may just not warrant a press release right off the bat.
That's right.
Exactly. And we got to be careful about greenwashing. Bob?
Yeah, as you say, it has to be balanced against the fact that, like every initiative of this kind, it's going through a hype cycle, and we're at maximum hype now with green. And all that's going to wash out at some point, and then we're going to be down to the true initiatives that really matter. But in the meantime, it's very much a PR thing. As Joe points out, every CEO has to talk green. Whether he walks it or not is another question.
Any predictions of when that hype cycle is going to level out to the true reality?
Fast, I think.
Fast?
Cycles are moving very fast. As you say, Laura, we weren't talking about green several years ago, and now it's all we're talking about. In another year or two, maybe, I think a lot of the people will be able to sort out some of the hype. And the big companies like Walmart can't afford to just talk it. I mean, they really have to show what they're doing, and they're doing immense amounts of things, especially in terms of working with their suppliers to cut down on packaging. Huge amounts of money being saved there, and materials being saved. So,
Vanessa, you think it'll happen fast? We'll get to the true?
I do think the creation of sort of independent bodies that start to evaluate how green retailers are and how green products are will lead to better understanding and less hype.
Right.
And more critical, the ability to sort of more critically look at how green retailers and products are.